Tell you a little fairy tale from the chronic illness world. Once upon a time, let's say yesterday, a disabled person had a freaking brilliant day. No, everything went wrong. Like everything except my body. Like it was like one of those days that you sort of dream about when you have chronic illness and disability. Like one of those days where you're like, oh, all the stuff can go wrong, but I can actually handle it because I can move. It was brilliant. Like I had to handle two emergency doctor's appointments, not mine for once. I have a very sick kid, which is breaking me right now, but yeah, I think he's gonna be okay, but it's been quite a few days. But I was able to handle multiple doctor's appointments. I was able to drive. Oh my God. I was able to handle two errands that required driving. Please, if you understand it all, nod your head because I know this sounds insane. Like, I mean, I used to work 80 hours a week. I used to commute for work. I used to have a very physical job as a photographer all day, and I was sick. I just had no idea how much sicker I was going to get. So it was just nuts to, not only did I do all that, I also did all of my physical therapy. And if you know me at all, you know that I don't ironically sit still well. So even on dislocated legs, I will walk if I am upset, sad, or stressed. And trust me, the last few days have made me stressed and sad. So I went for 3 walks yesterday, and it was weird. It was like I had taken some sort of magic pain pill. I haven't had a day like this in probably about, I'm gonna say like 5 years. It's probably been 5 years since I've had a day where my pain level stayed at a 5. You know, like it's never none, but it was at a 5. It was like, you know, normal people's like, I should see a doctor sort of pain level, which for me is like, oh my God, let's go for a hike. Let's go do everything. I haven't had a day like this in so long. It was really well timed because there's a lot that had to happen yesterday. I even made dinner for my family. Like it was just nuts. Yeah. So the funny thing about those days where you are like, hey, I'm super powered. I'm not sick anymore. Maybe I'm not sick anymore. Maybe I can do all the things. Maybe I can go back to work. The ultimate dream. By the way, if you're one of those people who thinks that those of us on disability are sitting around eating bonbons or whatever your imagination of what disability looks like or what our mentality about disability looks like, let me just explain. You're thinking about someone who is born into a level of privilege where working wasn't tied to their identity. Those of us who worked and are now disabled, we dream of going back to work. At least this person and almost every person I talk to, and since I run a chronic illness podcast, I talk to a lot of people. We are clawing our way back to working. We are desperate to have that rush of making our way again, our own way. I mean, I am privileged beyond belief. I have savings. I have a incredible support network. I have a spouse who is a partner in every possible way. And I am privileged beyond belief, but it still was a 80% downward slide from what I made per month working to what I get in disability. 80% difference, not the good way. So we were fantastically privileged and lucky, but it's not just that. I've worked since I was 13 years old, so my identity is tied into being independent and bringing in my money that I've made, and I built 3 businesses and they've all succeeded. I've had to leave each one because of health, except for this last one. So we'll see how long I can do the podcast and write the kids' books. So anyway, just a quick little PSA on we're, as a general whole, speaking very generally, we're all desperate to work again. There is nothing that would make me happier than well, there are a few things that make me happier. However, personally, I would absolutely love to go back to being a photographer, and if I couldn't do that, to go into teaching again. I taught for 8 years. I would love to go back to teaching. If I could manage even to do that in a wheelchair, I would do that. I tested it out for 1 hour, one class with like the most well-behaved middle schoolers you've ever seen, and I took days for recovery from that. So someday I'm hoping to even just like get to that point of being able to teach or substitute teach again. I went on a tangent, didn't I? Never happens around here. Sorry, the snorting Don't want to make any of you all dizzy, but this is so worth it. This is the snorting. This is what we're dealing with here. That's my consolation for being in bed. Anyway, so yeah, superhero day. Woo! I start thinking about maybe going back to school and actually getting my credential finished off and becoming a teacher. It's like amazing, like 3 hours and I'm like all ready to be like working again. That's like my big daydream is to do that again. Yeah, anyway, so so yeah, today I was like, okay, I'm all ready for the day, and I opened my eyes and it was like the entirety of what I should have felt yesterday just descended. And I can't with this. I've been like, how am I supposed to focus? We're not focusing. So we'll see. I have lots of stuff to do in bed today. So I run a podcast called Invisible Not Broken. I finished all stuff for the week for that yesterday because I was Superwoman. And then I run a second podcast for kids, doing a history podcast called I Can't Believe That Happened. It's crazy moments in history. It's 10-minute podcasts and Black History Month. Woohoo! So I listened to Mo Rocca's Mobituaries, which is my new favorite podcast. I'm in love with it. And he introduced me to Elizabeth Jennings, and I was like, there's no way I can't let Black History Month go by without doing an episode on her. So I did all the research yesterday. Sat up and did all the research yesterday. I recorded the episode. Today is just linking and creating the graphics. That will be up tomorrow, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. I missed a week. I feel so guilty about that. But sick kid, sick father, sick me. God, schedules don't work. And I'm finishing off my picture book, A Very Good Night. I've been working on that for 3 years, and I think the layout's finally done. And I just finished my first reader group. All the responses were super positive, except for some wording at the end, so I'm just fixing that up. And hopefully by today, I'll have a rough cut to send out. And my mother bought me a sewing and embroidery machine. Really privileged, unlucky. Like, I'm not kidding about that. Like, underline that 20 times. And she knows I've been desperate to start sewing, and I had a business idea I wanted to do, so I'm teaching myself software. I'm teaching myself Inkscape and Ink Stitch. I don't know if you know this, but embroidery software to digitize an embroidery pattern, those things are like thousands of dollars. Like, it's crazy. And my little tech brain, I'm techie enough to kind of to be dangerous. Like, I know enough to be dangerous, but in my head, it doesn't make sense that someone hasn't made an app for that. Like, there's no way that this can't be made easier. Thank you, Tim Ferriss. There's no reason this couldn't be easier and more user-friendly and more accessible. There's no reason that this is this complicated and expensive. It's like if you can use Adobe, not Adobe Design, but you know what I'm talking about. It's just creating pathways, but the pathways are stitches. So it's like, really think this could be easier. So anyway, I'm teaching myself this software, so that's my big excitement for us. So that was my yesterday. I was driving doctor's appointments, learning computer programs, researching and recording, and walking and doing PT and fixing stuff at the library. Miss days like that. I miss that was the 80% of my days, even when I was sick, that this would have been a light day for me about 6 years ago. And it would have been like, okay, that sucked. I wish I was healthier. And now I'm looking at that going, oh, that's the dream. It's really funny with chronic illness. You're always giving ground, like massive amounts of ground. And I, for one, have always been terrified of giving that ground. Like, my life is going to be unlivable if I give this ground. So here's the good and the bad news. I think you're going to always have to give the ground. Like, there's no way to not give the ground. And you can fight the good fight, and you can put your flag on the ground and live and die on that hill. Kind of wish I'd given up the hill earlier. I know it sounds weird because like I would do anything to get back up on that hill, but I think I'd have been happier if I started the wheelchair sooner. I think I definitely would have been less in pain if I'd done that. And that was one of those hills I was not willing to cede. So here's the good and the bad news. I think we're always going to have to give the ground. I don't see a way around that for most of our disorders. Maybe you have a different one and this doesn't make sense to you, in which case, hey, salute, cheers. Enjoy the fact that your disorder has a protocol plan for getting better. I don't. My protocol plan is, here's how we keep you out of the emergency room, and please don't keep screaming in my ear. So the good news is that even ceding ground and getting to the point that I thought was unimaginable and unlivable, I'm happy. I really am. Like, I found a lot of meaning in the work that I do. I just found new work, not paid work. By the way, we have a Patreon account. Please feel free to pay, because we run, even I run the podcast completely out of our own pockets. And while privileged, that does not mean I'm doing great. It just means that I don't have the daily struggles of food and roof over my head. And those are really important struggles. And I can generally afford my medication most months. I'd like to put that on an underline. Yeah, by the way, that was the last thing. I swear I won't ramble forever today, but my kid is sick, very sick. Not deathly sick, just very sick and in tons of pain. And it's a throat thing, so swallowing bad. And the pills that they were giving, and I'm not kidding when I say they were like that big. So those pills were $16, totally affordable in my world. In my world, I was like, okay, that's fine. But I was asking the pharmacist, like, do I grind them up? There's no way. Like, this is a kid who cannot swallow thickened water right now. Like, what do I do? And he was like, well, I think there's a liquid form. Like, that's what we do, is liquid form. So to my utter shock, when I went in to pick it up, it was $384 for that liquid form. Now, here's where the privilege comes in. That was the privilege price. Because I have what is considered in the United States really good health insurance. By the way, this health bout with my child with our really good health insurance is going to cost us around $3,000 minimum. And we will be able to pay that. It's not going to be good. It's going to be really hard for a while, but we're going to be able to pay that. Most people couldn't. Like, there's no way most people would have the money to be able to handle this. And this is with really great health insurance. My husband works really hard full time. And this is the health insurance we have. It's with a $6,000 deductible, and then they'll pay 85%. Yeah. Anyway, so by the way, so that $380 for the for this medicine that he needs, that is the only one he could take. That was the insurance price. If we didn't have insurance, it would have been $1,000 for 2 weeks of medicine. I was just flabbergasted. Anyway, let me tell you a quick workaround and a trick. And this was what saved us a ton of money. There's a app called GoodRx. No, they do not sponsor me. Hey, GoodRx, you want to sponsor me? Please feel free. You're actually a product I use all the time, and I would gladly, while we were dealing with this dystopian nightmare of a healthcare system where people are choosing which body part to treat because they can't afford heart and diabetes, or put in whatever, but we're sharing our life-saving medicine in this country. People are sharing their insulin with each other because people can't afford the healthcare, even with working. All right, so that was my soapbox. So while we're dealing with this dystopian nightmare, GoodRx is actually a really incredible app. Download it on your phone right now if you live in the United States. I don't know how it works in other countries, so check it out. That went from $300 to, if I got in the same size, it would have dropped by $120. I decided to bring it down to a 2-week supply so that we could see where he's at in 2 weeks and see if he could actually swallow pills in 2 weeks and then move to a cheaper medication. And that went down to $80. So that is my hot tip for the day. Thank you. I was only going to do like an 8-minute thing and I rambled. Yeah, sorry for making you all my therapist, but I hope I gave you some good information. So GoodRx, awesomeness. Libby is one of my favorite apps, and that is the library app, which saves us a ton of money because I'm a bookworm. If you can't tell by the stacks of books behind me, the whole house is like this, by the way. And what I do is I rent the books I borrow the books on Libby. They also are like Audible. They have all the same books on tape. How old am I? They have all the same ones by the same authors, by the same readers as Audible, but it's free because it's through your library. You already pay for it with your taxes. So really download that app. It's amazing. I love it so much. I think that's all of my tips for today. I just say that I just found Graham Norton, and that is like my go-to at night. All right, y'all. Be kind, be gentle, and be a badass. And if you like this, please subscribe. That's always lovely. If you want more of this and you want to hear from other people than me, which I totally get, we have a podcast called Invisible Not Broken. I run it with Eva from Wellacopia. She does her own show. I do a show called Explicitly Sick. I interview other people with chronic illness and disability. She interviews healthcare professionals. Take a listen. We are a lot of fun. All right, y'all. Have a good week.